Support for Docs Outside the Box comes from Set for Life Insurance. Set for Life means set for less. Their clients get access to the largest portfolio of discounts and unisex rates available nationwide. Check them out at setforlifeinsurance.com and tell them Dr. Darko sent you.
Welcome to Docs Outside the Box podcast. This is your official show, looking inside the minds of cutting-edge and innovative doctors. Think you'll find these stories in any medical textbook? Sorry. You're getting real-life insight from men and women pushing the envelope beyond medicine. Ordinary doctors doing extraordinary things. Let's start now with your host, Dr. Nee Darko.
Hey docs, are you looking to learn how to become a physician leader? Then Physician CEO is for you. Physician CEO is an accelerated business immersion program designed for physicians and developed by MBA faculty from the Kellogg School of Management at Northwestern University. So learn more at www.physician-ceo.com/DOTB. What's good, everyone? Welcome back to another episode of Docs Outside the Box. This is episode 61. I'm your host, Dr. Nee Darko, the Doc Outside the Box. Before we get into today's episode, please make sure you go and put on your to-do list to go back and listen to episode 60 with Dr. Zoanne Clack. And for those who haven't listened yet, this is a very highly downloaded episode. But Dr. Clack is the executive producer of Grey's Anatomy. That's right, the hit show on ABC. And she gave us a little glimpse into her life. And I found her story to be really inspiring because if you go back and listen, you'll find out that she shared so many of her detours, so many of her failures. Yet right now, she's doing very well right now. And she came off as very humble, very inspiring, and easily relatable. So this is definitely a must listen. Now, on today's episode, you're going to hear from the newly minted Dr. Wendell Cole. That's right. The same Wendell Cole who at the time on episode 55 was medical student Wendell Cole. Well, just a little bit of a backstory. In episode 55, he contacted me out of the blue. I happened to be in Atlanta for a conference with Dr. Dre called Medical Moguls. He reached out to me to kind of ask some questions, and I decided to record that, and that ended up being a really popular episode. So now he's graduated. He's going to be an orthopedic resident at Tulane University, and I interviewed him literally hours before he starts his first day as an orthopedic surgery resident. And on this episode, this time we're going to be talking about all the ways in which he's a doc outside the box. I'm telling you, he's a triple threat. We're talking about physician, podcaster with his show Convos with Cole, and now a best-selling author with his book called The Med School Survival Kit, How to Breeze Through Med School While Crushing Your Exams. And what's even more impressive about him is he's been able to accomplish the majority of all of this while he's a medical student. I'm serious. I'm feeling inadequate talking to him. Dr. Cole is going to let us know what motivates him. He's even going to drop gems that I think the pre-meds as well as medical students are going to learn a lot from. Now, on this episode, what I want you all to pick up is we're going to learn about his background and why this drives him so much to be as diversified as possible, basically not to have all of his eggs in one basket. We're also going to know the biggest lesson he's learned from failing. You're also going to hear his acknowledgement of his weaknesses and how this has made him more productive, not only as a medical student, but also as a business person. Also, you're going to hear his quick tips for writing a book. And as with all of my guests, you're going to hear how he answers hashtag I'm not just a doc. Now, real quick though, make sure you pay attention during this show because we're actually going to do a great giveaway. So I teamed up with Dr. Cole, and to find out more about this giveaway, make sure you listen to the episode. Here's a quick sneak tip. Make sure you follow me at Dr. Nee Darko on IG. Once again, to follow me, it's at Dr. Nee Darko on IG, on Instagram. And the giveaway will run for a week from this episode release date. So make sure you go get it now. So without further ado, let's hear from Dr. Wendell Cole. Dr. Wendell Cole, welcome to Docs Outside the Box, man. How you doing?
Man, I'm glad to be here. Glad to be here again. I'm doing fantastic. What about yourself?
I forgot about that. You are repeat offender on my show.
Yeah, last time it was an impromptu episode. We're at the hotel or at the at that event, and we recorded a pretty good episode.
Yeah, that was a very highly downloaded episode. I didn't think that many people would really like that one, just because we were in a bar and there was music and stuff in the background. But people really liked that episode, man. So
that's great to hear.
Yeah, man. So freshly being a newly minted doctor, congratulations on that.
Thank you.
You are here to talk about so many different things, man. We're going to talk about your new book that just got launched yesterday on Amazon, right? It's called The Med School Survival Kit: How to Breeze Through Med School While Crushing Your Exams, right?
That's it.
Okay, so that's part one. And then part two is we're going to talk about your really popular podcast called Convos with Cole. And then obviously we're talking about you going literally in a couple of days. You're going to be starting your orthopedic surgery residency in Tulane, right? In New Orleans.
Yeah. Tomorrow morning at 4 a.m., I would assume, is when I'll be walking into the hospital.
And yet you found time for us, man. We appreciate that, man.
You got to do what you got to do.
Well, first, man, congratulations on all of this stuff, man. This is no joke. I'm really impressed by you. The amount of energy, the focus, basically not being scared of anything. I just really, really like your grind, man. And I wanted to get you on the show so that we can hear about what motivates you, how you're able to be so successful, and go from there, man.
No, yeah, I really appreciate that. And one of the things you just said, I wanted to kind of put some clarity on, because fearless, I don't know if I'm exactly fearless, I would say, but I know how to operate within my own fear and not let it stifle me or not let it stop me. I think it's good to know what you fear and know how to overcome that fear in order to hit whatever goals that you want to go. So I'm never without fear completely. Even when I was launching this book, I was still nervous, but it's like, I'm not going to let all these things stop me.
Love it, man. That's a great quote. You're already dropping gems already. I love it. I recently watched this video. I follow Will Smith on his YouTube channel, which I think is really impressive, right? To see like a movie star kind of go into social media, something that he's not really used to doing, start off with like 0 subscribers, and now he's over 1 million subscribers. But literally there's a speech that he was talking about how he jumped out of a plane. I don't know if you saw that video.
Yeah.
Yeah. And he said basically like the things that you want most in life, the things that are going to give you the most rewards oftentimes are on the other side of fear, So when you mentioned what you just said, it made me think about that. And I think that's what's up.
Yeah. I think the harder it is to do, or the more obstacles you have to overcome, I think the greater reward is going to be on the other side.
Love it.
You should go towards the things that you're most afraid of.
Love it. Let's take a step back, man. So, Dr. Cole, tell us where you're from. I want to hear a little bit about your history. Where'd you grow up from? Where'd you grow up at? Tell us all that.
Yeah, so I am the son of 2 immigrants here to the United States. My dad is from an island called Jamaica, which many of you probably know what that is. But my mom is from a smaller island in the Caribbean called Grenada. And I was actually born in Brooklyn, New York, moved around a lot. Like lived in Michigan, Jamaica for a while, and I ended up just staying in Atlanta, or in Marietta per se. And I ended up doing my undergrad at Georgia State University. I recently just graduated from Morehouse School of Medicine, and now I just made this move to New Orleans, and I'm going to start here at Tulane in orthopedic surgery in a bit. So, it's been a long road, a lot of moves, but I think with moves you get used to like being under constant change and kind of being put in different environments and getting out of your own growth zone or comfort zone, I should say, and getting into more of finding out who you are as yourself. So
I agree with that. I agree with that. Yeah, I agree with that. Now, before you went into medical school, though, you didn't talk about it, but there was a lot of stuff going on too before you got into medical school. From what I understand, you were already running a business, or you had a startup app, right, for phones already. Right.
So that was my first, my first legitimate business. It was a phone application, and that I started in college, right? So I had an idea. It was originally called What's the Move, and I had an idea. People were always trying to figure out what was going on at night.
Say that name again.
It was called What's the Move originally, right?
Okay, what was it about?
So it was pretty much, it was trying to connect people with things that are going on at night in a different city, right? Because you may go to a city, you might not know exactly what's going on, where people are, like where the things are to do. And the goal of it was to connect people and let people know where's popular in the city to go out at night, right? Nightlife for the most part. And a funny thing is I was promoting it and throwing it all out there to the world. And within, as soon as I was about to actually like make an LLC, I looked on a trademark name and somebody literally trademarked that exact name a day before I was about to trademark it. Okay. So last second I had to switch it out to Lux Events. But I mean, long story short, it was my first startup. I came into med school running a startup business. And so starting off med school, I kind of had to learn how to juggle a lot of things, right? Or I had to learn how to be efficient, you know? So I'd be going to class in the morning, and then during lunch, I may go and like pitch something to some startup during that hour.
Wait, hold on a second. My man. Hold on. Because you know that what they say, right? They say if you're working in medical school, you are what? You're working your way out of medical school. So like, I'm sure at this point you had heard that. Like, how did you keep going?
Well, that's the thing. I always love when somebody says that it can't be done, because then when I do it, I'll be the first one to say that it's done, you know. And I'm not gonna lie, it is difficult. It was difficult.
I mean, because you're paying basically to be a full-time student, right?
Right.
And now you're pitching companies on your lunch break. I mean, your mind can't be completely on medical school at this point, but I mean, take us through that. How were you able to be successful with all this?
Well, that's the thing. So it was actually my first startup. It wasn't that successful.
Or were you successful?
It wasn't that successful. I was doing fine in school. I was doing well in classes and getting the grades I wanted to do. But as far as the startup, it wasn't as successful. And I think one of the big things that helped my efficiency in doing all this is working with teams and knowing how to work with people, right? So if it was something where I had to be studying because I had a test coming up, I'm not going to jeopardize me doing good in school for a business that may or may not work out, right? Because my number one thing was to become a doctor. So I had to learn how to deal and interact with people and learn how to, I guess, shift responsibility or learn how to work as a team in order to get to a goal, right? Mm-hmm. So I think the thing that shoots people in the foot are the people that say, I can do it all by myself, because then you'll be doing everything by yourself, right?
Yeah, I think that's a really good point. Love it. Yeah.
It's definitely about working as a team. But I think going into medical school, doing that taught me great lessons, because I was able to balance throughout the rest of medical school. I was able to do everything well, and do everything I wanted to do.
So you think the biggest lesson that you learned at that point was balance?
It was being efficient. Because I came into med school, I said, okay, well, if I'm going to do these two different things, both things are not easy to do. So I have to use my time wisely. I can't just mess around and act like I don't have things to do. So it made me focus even more. Like if I was studying, I was just studying. I was not doing anything else. I wasn't on Facebook. I wasn't on Instagram. I wasn't really talking to anybody else. I was literally just studying. And I think just being all in what you're doing at that point was something that helped me out a lot through med school. So, because a lot of times I'll see like people in the library for like 10 hours, but it'll be like study.
Yeah, that was me. That was me. Yeah.
It'd be talking and not as much like actual studying or getting work done. So I think for me, it was just being able to just have set times when I did things that I wanted to do.
So you actually, let's just be honest, you failed with that app, right? And
oh yeah,
and that's a good thing, right? Because I think what the listeners will get from this podcast is, oftentimes the guests on the show, they failed in one aspect and it made them stronger for their next endeavor. So for you, when did you, because look, you're doing a podcast, you're writing a book, or you wrote a book now, and you're doing amazing. You're going into orthopedic surgery, right? Like, where's all this motivation to kind of keep doing something besides being a doctor? Like, you are the epitome of hashtag I'm not just a doc. Where did all this motivation come from?
Well, I mean, growing up, I didn't grow up from like a wealthy family or anything. And I always saw my mom kind of struggle from paycheck to paycheck. I knew in the back of my mind, if she got fired or something happened, that I don't know how the next couple of weeks would go. Right. and having to see my mom with that constant worry and constantly being stressed out is something that I just didn't want for myself, or I really didn't want for her either, for when I got older, when I grow up. And for me, it's almost like security and wanting to, be able to take care of my mom, and also wanting not having to want to wonder, if I get fired from one thing, how am I going to survive? I want to be.
So you don't want your eggs in one basket.
Exactly.
So how did you went from app to, if I'm correct, from app to starting a podcast. Is that correct? Is that the
there's some things in between there. Me and a classmate actually started like a little real estate business during med school and closed some deals, so that went pretty well.
Okay, what year in med school was this?
I think this was actually our second year, our most rigorous year. I think, it was second year. It was our second year of med school.
So you're supposed to be getting ready for step one during this time. Okay.
Yep. When you're getting ready for step one, arguably the biggest exam you're gonna have to take as a medical professional. And again, the big thing with that was teamwork and delegation. That's what made things run smoothly and made it take a lot less time than needed.
So you joined forces with another medical student to form a real estate company?
So it was me, another medical student, and a friend of mine from college. And, we, all three of us had our strong suits, and we kind of played to those and just worked really well together as a team. That way we could leverage each other's times and not necessarily have to be there all the time, because many times I'd be studying or doing something else.
Now, is that company still in existence right now? Are you guys still selling houses?
Not currently, because we all moved to our respective like places for residency. So right now we're not doing anything. But it was very well for a med student. It helped pay some things.
Okay. All right. Now, in terms of the podcast, let's talk about the podcast called Convos with Cole. You can find that on Apple Podcasts, basically anywhere that you listen to your respective podcast, you can get that. Tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah. So funny thing is, if you would have asked me like a year or two ago and you say the word podcast, I would have had no idea what you're talking about. I would have thought it was something that computer kids did to talk about other random things. Like I literally had no idea what a podcast was. And the first time I heard of a podcast, I think it was Tim Ferriss's podcast, and it was called the Tim Ferriss Show, and he does long style interviews with different people in different areas of life. And I liked it, right? I liked it. And what got me to do my own, right, is because I wanted to be able to impact the people around me and find stories of people that did extraordinary things and tease out what part of it made, like what is the 20% of things that got that 80% of the output? Like, what do they actually do that all these successful people do that makes them great, and kind of tease that out and figure out what the habits they have, the stories that their life stories that have made that. And then actually when I thought a little bit deeper into why I wanted to start a podcast, I actually realized that, so growing up, I was never a person that was really talkative, right? I wasn't really out there, and I was more to myself. So kind of going through high school and college, I always try to put myself in uncomfortable situations where it forced me to have some type of a social interaction, work on my communication, right? Mm-hmm. So in college, I, joined a fraternity, joined a lot of different groups. I was really out there. And now with this podcast, I felt like I was having trouble communicating and talking to people. And again, what better way to get out of your comfort zone than to go ahead and do a podcast where you have to learn how to talk to people. You have to learn how to listen to people and hear the undertone of what they're actually trying to say when they say something, right? Because when people talk, there's something superficially that they might say, but you might miss out on their tone of voice or that flicker that they do with their eye, which all these different verbal cues, which help you be a good communicator as well as understand people better, right? So in two senses, it was one, because I wanted to get some more success tips and habits and tricks, but also I guess on the more selfish part is I also wanted to work on my own communication and interaction and just human interaction and working with people.
I love it, man, because that's in essence, the reason why I started Docs Outside the Box. I'm not the best public speaker, so I wanted to push myself in that realm. And then I just thought that video took too long. So doing a YouTube channel at that point would have just taken too much time. And I just wanted to learn, like you said, tips of success from really successful people. And it was really for me at first. And then I said, well, if I'm going to talk to these people, I might as well share it with other people and go from there. So it sounds like we got like similar trains of thought with starting a podcast, and I've listened to your episodes. I really, really enjoy it. So with your podcast, there are listeners who are going to be introduced to your podcast for the first time right now. Which episode encompasses what your show is about the best? So if you had listeners here who have never heard your show before, which one should they listen to kind of get everything that your show is about?
I would say the two that they should listen to. It's funny because you might have like bigger name people, or you might have people that you expect like a really good show from, and then people where you speak to and you're expecting a good show, but you don't expect to be like super great, like just delivers and it's on point. And I did an interview with Sam Collier. He did an interview called and his name like Finding Your Voice, because he wrote a book as well. And it was just a really, really great interview. And, I listened to it again, and it just motivated me. And there's so many things that stuck through that interview that I actually take with me in my life, So I would say the episode with Sam Collier, Finding Your Voice, and actually another episode with the...
And that was episode 23, right?
Right. Episode 23, Sam Collier.
And, I'll put that link in the show note.
Oh, that's perfect, guys. So if anybody is listening and want to go ahead and check that out, go ahead and do that. I'd love to get your feedback. And another one is actually one that you introduced me to, Ms. Raina Campbell. I actually really enjoyed her interview as well.
She's a heavy hitter, She is a heavy hitter. Raina Campbell with Dreams and Drive.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah, Raina Campbell from Dreams and Drive. She does excellent interviews. I was listening to some of her podcasts, and she does very well what we were talking about earlier as far as from hearing what somebody's saying and then going deeper and extracting the deeper, more meaningful information. So I learned a lot from her as well. That's another great episode. If you are into that, go ahead and listen to it.
And that was episode 22. Once again, I'll put that in the show notes. And she's a heavy hitter. Her podcast is constantly on the front page of Apple Podcast. She's doing some really, really good things. So tell me, like, what's the biggest thing? Because there are other people right now who are listening to this show and they are interested in podcasting. Not sure what to do, what to start. Tell us, like, what's the biggest thing that you've learned from interviewing these folks, or even just doing a podcast in general?
So I guess, from actually like starting up a podcast and the actual mechanics behind it, I actually took a course by a guy named Pat Flynn, and he has a Power Up podcasting course. And that was good for like the actual logistics, how to use Audacity, equipment, et cetera, et cetera. But for actually interviewing people and things that I've learned is you have to ask good questions.
Oh, yeah.
And you got to ask why. It's almost like asking why 5 times will actually get you to the real why, right? And following up and it's almost the art of speaking people and talking to, it's like the art of the interview itself, and bringing out good information is something I've really learned a lot from this podcast, and going beyond the superficial. Those are some awesome things I've learned from the podcast, as well as you get to reach out to people and talk to people that you might have not talked to if you weren't doing a podcast.
Yeah,
I think like a connection.
Yeah, I agree with you on all those points. The biggest one is the last one you made. It's like the networking opportunities, the ability to meet people that you, like you said, normally in your normal group, you would not get a chance to meet. That's been my biggest, I think it's been the biggest positive thing, at least from my podcast. We met and, met some other really cool people and stuff. So, and now a word from our sponsor. Understanding how to run a business in medicine will put you at a unique advantage in the future. Whether it's leading a hospital, practice, or starting a new venture, the Physician CEO program will put you in focus from day one. Physician CEO is an accelerated business immersion program developed by MBA faculty from the Kellogg School of Management at Northwestern University. The Physician CEO program provides an intensive MBA-style education made up of modules, with each module covering topics from leadership to entrepreneurial ventures. Because of their individualized structure, each participant leaves the program with their 1, 3, and even 5-year business plan, all designed to function in the real world. If you're a physician who is looking to start your own venture, lead your practice or department, or even start planning for succession out of medicine, then you can't afford to miss this opportunity. Class is filling up. Learn more at www.physician-ceo.com/DOTB. Let's transition a little bit. So, okay, because I'm keeping a list for you, man. Like, so you got a startup that you did right before med school.
Yep.
Then you got the business, the real estate business, and then the podcast, right? Because you were just bored, right? And then it's just bored. And then now you got this book called The Med School Survival Kit: How to Breeze Through Med School While Crushing Your Exams. All this before you graduated. Tell us about the book. Obviously, you got a little giveaway that you want to talk about also.
So it started actually as a suggestion, right? Because to my classmate, it seemed like I was just living life when I was in med school, because I was traveling a lot. I was having a lot of fun, international trips, and I did a lot of other things outside of med school, which most people knew about. So everybody would kind of ask me, like, how are you doing all this while you're in med school? There's no way you're a med student, et cetera, et cetera. And what it was is I kind of teased out, again, those 20% of things that accounted for 80% of my output. And what I wanted to do was to save people time and energy, right? Because if I could save you, let's say 50 hours or so, or even money, there's some things in the book where people could save a lot of money. But the goal of this book was to let people know that it is possible to get through med school while having a life. It's just about how you look at things and having the right mindset. And there are a lot of lessons and things that I learned in there, like how to look through questions and how to network and how to talk to people and do your personal statement and all the things that I found successful. I kind of wanted to put in this book to have it in one concise place. Because a lot of times when I was looking for something, I didn't know where to look. I didn't know what were some good sources to use, what's like not the best sources to use. And I had to like figure out a lot of things. So I felt like it would have saved me a lot of time and a lot of headache if I had like an easy guide to go through, or easy, like almost like a virtual mentor to kind of say, hey, these are things you should do. Just go ahead and do this, and you will be, it'll be great. Like, you can get through med school, you can do all the things that you want to do and still like have a life.
Yeah, I've read a significant portion of the book already. I have it on Amazon Kindle app, and I love it. It's great. Kind of wish it was there when I was going through the process also, because your first chapter, or at least your introduction, you talk about, how some people look at, or the majority of people look at going into medical school as if you're going into a black hole. And that's kind of how I felt. And I mean, I did well academically, but at the same time, there were so many different things that I wanted to do that didn't get a chance to do because I was just so focused. And, if I had known that there was someone like you around, like as a classmate, or even from this book, man, I think I would have been able to start things up a lot sooner than when I started things. So I really, really appreciate you writing this book. And I think a lot of pre-med students as well as medical students can learn a lot, because this is a really, really good book. Tell us, because, a lot of people are writing books now, the gatekeepers are gone, right? Like, you don't really need a publishing company.
Not at all.
You can kind of self-publish. Give us 3 quick tips that, we can learn from if we wanted to write our own book.
All right, great. So quick tip. So to write a chapter in 10 minutes, right? So this, I used a guy named Pat Flynn. He has a sticky note method. And this is how I kind of organize all my thoughts at the beginning. So think of a chapter that you want to talk about, or just a topic, and you just have a bunch of sticky notes and just write down whatever just comes to your mind. Just write everything down. Like, for example, when I started out, I thought about studying. So I put resources, then I put how to study, then I put reading, and then I put drawing, and I put art, and everything that came to my mind. And then after a while, you'll have this table full of like Post-it sticky notes. And then from there, you can kind of start to organize them into chapters, and you can start to group things together into sections and then subsections, and you'll start to have like a little outline flow of a chapter and what you want to talk about. And once you have that, there's an app called Rev, where you can speak into you can download on your phone, and you can speak into the microphone. And what somebody will do is that they'll transcribe everything you say. So what I would suggest you do is if you have a chapter, just go on those and just almost verbally vomit. Just say everything that you know in your head about that topic and just keep on talking. Just get it all out there, whatever is in your head. And once you do that for the chapter, say you have 5 minutes of audio or something like that, what the app does, you pay somebody $1 a minute and they will transcribe it all for you and they'll give it back to you in a Word document that's pretty much just all written out, everything that you just said. And from there, that's an easy way to get a quick first draft of a book. And then from there, you kind of refine things and organize it. But that's an easy way to get a quick first draft.
How long did it take you to write this book?
It took, because I didn't sit down and do it all at one time. I would do like a couple chapters here and a couple chapters there. But overall, it maybe like a month or so.
Wow.
But really, you could do it in a shorter amount of time if you really just sit there and did it.
Love it. Love it. So look, the pre-meds, oftentimes they write to me and say, like, I don't show them love. Even some of the medical students, you don't show us no love and stuff, but you have a giveaway that you want to do. You want to quickly talk about that?
Yeah, let's do a giveaway. Let's do a giveaway to everybody that's listening to this podcast right now, especially for you guys. Let's do a giveaway. Let's do this. Let's
do like 3 books or so, maybe 3 or 4 books. What do you think?
Yeah. Let's do a giveaway for 4 books for people listening.
Okay.
And when you make a post on your page, on your Instagram page about this episode,
right? So they'll post on mine. So for everybody's listening, the Instagram page for Docs Outside the Box is at Dr. Nii Darko. So that's DrNiiDarko. My bad. Go ahead.
No, so once you make this post about this episode, once Dr. Darko makes this post, just go and comment the kit. That is how you get entered. Just go and comment the kit on his post. And of course, be following his page and then follow my page at I am Dr. Cole, and we will choose winners.
Perfect. Love it, man. Love it, man. I love the fact that you're giving things away. We definitely appreciate it. Now, I went ahead and supported the book. The book is great, but also there's some pre-meds who can definitely use this book for free and stuff. So definitely appreciate you doing that. So once again, when this, obviously you're listening on this podcast, when I post this on the Instagram page, which is at Dr. Nii Darko, DrNiiDarko, go ahead and leave a comment below that says the kit, and make sure you're also following I am Dr. Cole. Once again, it's IAM as in Mary, DRCOLE, and we'll go ahead and pick a winner very soon, and we'll get a book out to you ASAP. I love it. I love it. So look, the pre-meds also, they're listening to this show, they're salivating. They want to get the book, but real quick, real quick, without giving everything in the book, like what are some real quick tips that they can do to crush medical school?
I think number one, of course, is have a goal of what you want to do, right? Because and realize like the structure of medical school and what things are important, what things are not important. You realize, if you want to be AOA Honor Society, get all A's, that in order to do that, you may have to sacrifice some other things. Or versus if you're fine with maybe getting some B's, but you want to do really good on step 1, that maybe just have a kind of a goal of what you want to do for med school. And another big thing is when you study or memorize things is to make stories of the things you want to memorize, right? Because you remember them a lot better. Like, let's say, for example, I'm looking at my table here, and you want to remember a word you want to remember the words water bottle, pen, and book, right? So if you make a story out of those things, it's easier to remember. And if you do it with things that you're familiar with, you'll remember it easier, right? So if I tell somebody to sit here and imagine that you walk to your car and that you go to open the door and the door just it crumples. This is like, it feels like plastic, like a water bottle, and water like splashes out all over the ground. And then you get in your car and you sit down, you feel like something poking on your leg, right? Something poking really hard. You look down, you see it's a pen. And you get ready to go ahead and drive, and you drive, you put your hand on the steering wheel, but it's like hard and it feels like a book. So there we have in our little 20-second story, we try to open the car and our hand, it was plastic like water. So you're going to think of a water bottle. Then you went to sit down, you felt something poking you. You're going to remember that it was a pen. And then you went in your car and you tried to drive and hit the steering wheel, but it was really stiff and it was a book. I bet you 5 minutes from now, you'll still remember those 3 words. 10 minutes from now, you'll still remember those three objects, because it's something that you can just easily replay back in your mind. So that was one of the really good things that a study tip that I found when I had to memorize just little pieces of data, little bits of information. So that's one of the things. There's plenty more in that book that you guys will probably look at and definitely help out.
You got to read it to find out.
Yeah, definitely check it out.
So Dr. Cole, man, like what's up? What's next for you, man? Because you've transitioned from Atlanta down to New Orleans. You got a big challenge for the next 5 years, which I'm sure you're going to crush it though. What's on your mind now? Like what's the big thing?
Well, the big thing, of course, is going to be residency and doing good in that. I have to do very well in residency first, because that's the reason why I'm down here. That's the reason I just made this move. That's number one. So just being a sponge and just soaking up all the knowledge I can for the next 5 years and enjoying myself and having a blast while doing it. So that's number one. Other things outside of that, I don't know for sure yet. I gotta see what residency is like. It may be another book coming out in like a year or so that I may do. It may be a little bit different. It may be stories or something more comical. But yeah, I don't exactly know for sure. I know residency is next, because that's at 4 a.m. So we'll find out.
Oh man, I tell you, residency was a very rewarding experience. It's tough.
Yeah.
But it's definitely something that you're going to gain a lot from. And I'm really looking forward to seeing what you're going to do over the next year and stuff, man. And maybe we'll get you on the show again once you figure out the next big thing, man.
Next big thing. Something's going to happen. I don't know what, but I know if I think of something, and most of the times I will do it. I don't really, like we said earlier, I don't really let fear stop me, or fear of failure stop me. I'm always willing to fail something.
So let me ask you a question. Do you feel like now that you are literally about to start the next phase of your career, do you feel like has to be like a reset button pressed, or are you just literally just going to continue the same things that got you to this point?
It'll be more. It'll probably be some of the same things that got me to this point, but it'll be a little different because it'll be in a different setting. It's not the typical school setting. Now it's lives are in your hands setting, right? So it'll be like for the first maybe month or so, it'll be like, oh, let me get used to this actual being a doctor thing and find out what I need to do in order to be very successful in that. Again, so I'm taking my time to tease out and find those 20% of things that's going to get me my 80% plus results. And then I'll hone in on that. Once I hone in on that, I will probably, again, then expand, because instead of my 80% of my time getting me those 80% of results, now I found out the 20% of things that gets me that 80 results. And now I have an extra 60% where I can kind of put where I want it to.
Why are you picking up numbers, man? You know I wasn't good at math. You know what I'm saying, man?
Bring back algebra
man. I get the point. But let's do some quick, fast questions. We're at the end of the interview. You cool with that? Let's do it, man. So what's the biggest thing you want people to get from this podcast, man?
Man, just do it now. If you have anything that you want to do, just do it now. Just know the time is never perfect. It'll never be a great time to do anything. Just do it right now. Just take action. Even if it's something small as like writing an idea down or just telling somebody about it. Just do it now. Don't wait.
Love it, man. So what's one piece of technology, some type of life hack that helps you become, so productive? What are you using?
Oh man, that's a good question.
I know, man. Because you're on Docs Outside the Box, man.
Technology.
It could even be a life hack, man.
That's a dang good question right there. I would say, well, I would say if we're speaking about like medicine and stuff, or like being in school, I would say an iPad is a really good hack, because there's an app on there called iBooks where you can put a lot of your books on. And so if you're just during the day and not really doing much, you can be reading through books and kind of getting information, which will eventually free up your time later on. So if you want to go hang out with friends or do whatever, you can kind of go do that. So that's probably one of the hacks I would say. I know there's a better hack, and I'm just blanking on it right now. But
too late. Gotta move on.
Next.
That's how we do it. That's how we do on Docs Outside the Box. Okay, look, someone gets a chance to sit in your car, right? What are they going to hear? They're going to hear podcasts. They're going to hear music. They're going to hear radio. What are you going to be listening to?
Man, honestly, sometimes it'll be just silence. Because
really,
sometimes, right? Because, we get into the car and the first thing we want to do is we just want to go ahead and fill our heads out with some type of information, go ahead and listen to some music, play a radio or do something. But sometimes just driving in silence and just letting it be quiet can actually be pretty rewarding. It can be refreshing. It's like before you get to wherever you're going, you have this little maybe 5-10 minutes of just silence. You're just listening to the road, or you might be hearing a bird chirp outside or whatever it is, but just a little bit of silence. It can go a long way.
Love it. This is a new question. I haven't asked anybody this one.
Let's do it.
When you hear the word doc in the box, what do you think?
Oh man, the first thing that comes to my mind is a doctor that's in his clinic all day long and all night long, and just goes home and then does the same thing for 50, 60 years.
I love it. I see what you're saying.
Comes to my mind.
What about doc outside the box? What does that bring?
For some reason, when I hear that, I think of happiness, right? I think of a doctor that's happy, that's doing everything that they wanted to do in life, and just kind of is making a name for him or herself, and being not the conventional, but daring to be different, daring to be an outsider, or daring to think that there is no box. Who even put us in a box? We're just all here, and we're all our individual selves. So that's what I think of.
I love it, man. I love it. I want you to finish this sentence. I'm Dr. Wendell Cole. I'm not just a doc. I
am a human superhero.
Ooh, damn! I like that one. Superhero. All right, so if you could be any, let's go down, because I got my superhero. So if you could be any superhero, who would you be? Black Panther, Batman, Superman. What would you do? Who would you be?
Man, who would I? That's a great question. Oh man.
They're gonna have to tune in for the next one for that one, actually. But I like that
villain that I would be, though. I know which villain I would be.
It'd probably be Batman, because you said human superhero. So
yeah, is
that what you're thinking?
No.
Oh,
well,
okay.
I'm thinking of a villain, not a superhero. If I was a villain, it'd be Thanos from the
Got
event.
you. Yeah, I love it. Dr. Wendell Cole, man, I really appreciate the time you've given us. We learned a lot from you. Pre-meds, med students, attendings, listening to this show, learned a lot from you. And I just wanted to say, man, what you're doing is boss, man. It's what's up.
Thank you.
And I know in less than 12 hours, you're going to be up, ready to go, ready for your next challenge. But I know, no doubt, you're going to crush it, man. So congratulations to everything you've done. Thanks for being on the show, man. We got to have you on again.
I really appreciate that, man. Always a pleasure being here.
All right, and that's a wrap for episode 61 with Dr. Wendell Cole. I hope you enjoyed hearing his Docs Outside the Box journey. And now it's up to you to take steps towards your hashtag I'm Not Just a Doc life. Now, don't forget to enter our giveaway. And to do that, make sure you're following me on Instagram at Dr. Nee Darko, as well as Dr. Cole at I Am Dr. Cole. And make sure you leave the message, the kit, in the comment section on my page. So I'm going to catch you guys on the next episode. But remember one thing, we only got one life. Let's make it count and live outside the box. Peace.